So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the UK's worker shortfall due to Brexit curbs at around 330,000. So the estimate is that around 330,000 kind of EU workers have left the UK because of Brexit. And that might not sound a lot, but it's really knackering the economy. So the post-Brexit UK is facing a shortfall of more than 300,000 workers as a result of ending of free movement with the EU, according to a new estimate by leading researchers. There were approximately 1.25 million unemployed people in the UK in the 3 months to October 22, with the figure in December 2020 being the highest since September 2015. So unemployment is rising in the UK. Unemployment is lowering in the UK by the looks of things. And so, if you think about it like this, right? There are people who would just look at this and say, 1.25 million is more than 300,000, so that means you can just get some of these unemployed people to work, and that would resolve the issue. Such people would not understand that jobs take a certain amount of skills that may require training, and of course, geography, which could also be a huge issue. The joint assessment from the UK in a Changing Europe and Centre for European Reform think tank said the end of free movement was constricting the UK's economy and contributing significantly to labour shortages in, quote, the lower skilled sectors, including logistics, construction, and hospitality. And look, I take issue with the phrase low skilled, especially in the context. In this context, it can be very snobby. Logistics can be pretty complicated. Ask the Russian military about it. But in this post-Brexit world, especially, if you look at the situation with the Dover-Calais crossing, I mean, it's a mess, and that's a logistics problem as well as on top of a Brexit problem. Construction is pretty complex. You need a combination of expertise like bricklayers, plumbers, electricians, and a foreman to make sure, house construction goes okay. These are all things that have actual qualifications, and these are not low skilled. And hospitality, where if you're front of house, you have to deal with people who often act pretty entitled and annoying. And you need, a good front of house staff to make things work, and a head waiter who can run the show, which all require skills. The UK doesn't have just a shortage of waiters and kind of, the minor kitchen staff. We have a massive shortage of head chefs and maitre d's. I would have put in maitre d's, but I can't spell it. Then you need, great kitchen staff and a head chef who can run the show and hopefully does not consistently fight with the head waiter, which you can see on occasion. The head chef arguing with the head waiter, which is fun. These are not, low-skilled industries. Anyone who claims logistics, construction, and hospitality are low-skilled industries are absolute morons who haven't worked a proper day in their lives in these industries. Jonathan Portes, Professor of Economics and Public Policy at King's College London and who co-authored the report, said the shift in migration pattern was a feature, not a bug. The long-term impact on the UK labour market will be profound, he added. New estimates suggest that the UK lost around 460,000 EU workers since Brexit, whilst gaining 130,000 non-EU workers. So, oh no, more black and brown faces. I'm sure Brexiteers are going to be fuming about that. So there are two issues here. EU workers need visas, which can be a pain to get. Also, you have to earn more than around £25,600, which is not incredibly low, but can be prohibitive for certain industries. If you're an EU citizen, why would you want to go through all of that when you can just set up shop in another EU member state, and depending on the rules, you might not even need to apply for residency if you're staying short term. The estimates emerge as the government takes steps to try and tackle the effects of the so-called Great Retirement caused by the pandemic, which has left 500,000 more people economically inactive than in 2019. Some of these people have just enough money to take early retirement. Others suffer from long COVID or other health related problems that they haven't been able to get checked out because the NHS has been decimated, and it's a nightmare just getting a doctor's appointment in this damn country. Business groups representing affected sectors such as lorry driving, hospitality staff, construction, agricultural labourers have asked the government to relax the visa scheme by expanding the shortage occupation list, but largely without success. So a report co-authored by John Springford, Deputy Director of the Centre of European Reform, said the reduction in labour supply would constrict the economy. Employers will respond with some combination of higher wages and prices unless output, especially in work that is hard to automate. So when you don't have enough staff, you can't expand your business. But when you don't have enough staff for day-to-day operations, it means you either compete for more workers and that can push up costs, or you go without having the workers, putting more pressure on your current staff who can then leave, or you put in a bigger shift yourself, which means more pressure on yourself. So there's no winning here. Business groups argued. The report showed that while the government needed to do more to get UK people back in the workforce, there were clearly limits to domestic labour shortage. Jane Grattan, head of the People's Policy at the British Chamber of Commerce, said competition for workers was feeding into inflation and urged the Home Office to reform the shortage occupation list. So when we look at the inflation numbers in a sec, you can argue that wages have played a small part in inflation. I think the main issues are Brexit, the global logistics issues, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which has pushed up energy prices a lot, and COVID, which China's gone into lockdown consistently over the last few years. Like, I think the main issue, even Jeremy Hunt admitted to that without. I think the main issue isn't wages. Jeremy Hunt admitted that without mentioning Brexit. He mentioned a lot of other things. Businesses don't want to pay their staff more, despite some of them, especially the bigger ones, making record profits. Looking at you supermarkets, so to blame the lack of workers here does not make sense, or to blame even wage rises doesn't make any sense. So we're going to look at these are the inflation statistics, and these are the wage increases. So the inflation number is based on an average basket of goods. If you look at this graph, it looks like wages have played a major part. The issue is that energy has gone up by 54%. Food inflation has gone up by around 16.9%. So the consumer price index number for inflation, I have issues with. I have issues with the goods that the goods that the ONS and the Bank of England use to calculate their inflation. But for the leader of the British Chamber of Commerce to blame wage inflation makes no real sense here, when wages haven't gone up above inflation for a while now, for a long while now. Makes no sense to blame wages. If we look at the number here, you can see how fast kind of inflation's gone up. Private sector, you can argue private sector wages have gone up pretty consistently above inflation since July 2020, but you'd have to look at the long term figures. But you can see public pay has been very low. 3.3% increase in public pay since January 2020. Private sector pay has gone up 7.2%. But if you look at inflation, it's gone up by 10.7%. So it's gone up pretty high. And even then, I don't think these statistics on inflation are that accurate. It's kind of my issue with it, but these are the numbers we have, so these are the numbers we go by. The CBI, which represents UK industry, agreed that a shortage occupation list needed updating, but added the UK needed long-term productivity boosting measures to address the root cause of the problem. And we can do a lot more trading, and business support, but at the end of the day, developed economies need immigration to fuel the economy, to make sure we have enough staff so businesses can expand, so they can get the best staff possible. We don't have that system. We don't even have the basic abilities to really train people, because getting vocational skills costs a lot more money. So for the idea that people can just skill up themselves is comical, and that's even if we had the people with the aptitude to do the training. Me, I don't have the aptitude. The other problem is, people in this country look down upon vocational skills. It's very much, just academics. That's what this Tory government have pushed. That's what New Labour have pushed. Push towards academics, not towards vocational studies. When you need a mix, apprenticeship should be a really big achievement to get. But in this country, they're a joke and they pay less than minimum wage. How are you supposed to survive on that? It don't make sense. Like, taking up an apprenticeship, it doesn't seem like a smart idea when you don't get paid that much, and it takes a long time to get the skills you need. What if you need money now? Like, it don't make sense, especially now, given the cost of living crisis. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.